It is the start of part 2 of this pre-season loft building episode. Got all of the flooring, this laminate kind of, or vinyl flooring on sale, and some underlayment, and got a whole bunch of coal lumber and some paint that other people have disposed of, and some other coal things. I think I'm going to make some countertops out of that thing, and lots of materials to stay busy for at least the next week. And I might paint the ceiling yellow or light blue instead of the white I was planning. We shall see. Time to unload before the rain comes again. I'm about to try a very sketchy operation that could very easily go wrong. I should probably do something to try to prevent the wrongness of what I'm trying to do. Basically, that window's really heavy. I've got to put it out, open, out, extended onto this 2x4 to try to screw it on over there. This could easily result in my car getting very damaged and the window breaking. So I'm going to take a precautionary measure first. So there's my precautionary measure. Strap the 2x to the roof rack and then put a screw to connect those two so I don't lose that end. I shouldn't lose that end. Maybe I'll put one more screw in over there to make sure I don't lose that end. And then it's much lower risk. So I've got it out, leaning on that, super sketchy. Problem is it's a little bit too tall over there, so that I can't really screw this in properly. So I don't know exactly what to do, but I'm kind of in a bind now. I basically need to take that 2x4 out that's under the other 2x4 to lower it. But then there's no one to hold this side, and it might just fall. Anyways, I'm just going to screw something over here, see what happens. So I got 2 screws in the top hinge. It's like torqued, but it should hold it. It's going to be super sketchy. It should hold it while I go take that 2x4 out down there. And then hopefully that will bring it down just enough to make this work. And if it all falls apart, at least there's this video of prior. It didn't fall, at least not yet, though it is leaning out. But without that 2x underneath the other 2x's, hopefully I can make this work. It worked! Check it out! And the top one's it's on a spring, so it closes it. I haven't tightened the spring all the way, but if I open it more, it works. And then it'll close on its own a little ways. And it's a little tight against the 2x4 on that side, but it's got enough clearance on the metal beam below, and it does close all the way. It's just rubs on the very edge. So this is how much clearance it's got. So it's freaking great. I only got half the screws in, so I'm going to open it all the way, put the other half of the screws in. And I was worried about how much clearance there would be up here against this cement, and it's got plenty of space there. I didn't even break anything and got it all in on my own, thanks to the vehicle's help. Alright, now I just got to screw these in, and I actually got them pretty darn straight as it is, and then I'll tighten that this spring hinge here so that it closes even better on its own. Oh wait, I haven't checked when it's fully open what it's like over there. So it'll hit that that metal flashing there. When it goes fully open, it won't break the other window. Alright, pretty cool. So I got a latch on it. It's nice and tight. And I'm just so impressed with how level it is. It's like perfectly level, and there's just enough room above it for, well, I could squeeze a 2x in, but I'm not going to do that. But I'm going to frame one more piece of 2x on before I call it a day, just to stabilize that corner point where the latch is, so the wind doesn't create too much havoc. But I am super pleased. All worked out. Engineering success on this corner. The tricky part was getting it to be reinforced in 2 dimensions so that when it swings, this will stay in place, that corner post, which that plywood reinforces it along that dimension, and then this plywood reinforces it along this dimension. I was thinking I was going to have to make a crossbar in between them, but I added enough kind of reinforcements there where it's not necessary. And then I'll end up insulating that piece there before I add another piece of plywood, which will make it even more solid. And all that will come tomorrow, but success. So an extra 2x with custom cuts up there to both support the original one, prevent them from pulling together, and prevent the 2x's on the end from twisting, especially where that latches. And I can call it a day. So it is Friday morning, and the goal today is to paint this ceiling white. And we'll see how it goes. So yesterday, it took me all day, but I was able to get the whole ceiling white. But that's just gonna be a base layer. I did it by hand to get it in nice and deep. And then I got this yellow as like a recycled gallon that someone discarded at Home Depot for 10 bucks. And so I'm gonna actually go with a yellow finish. And I got a paint gun. So I'm hoping that the paint gun will make it a lot easier to get a coat over the white coat. That's my goal for today. And hopefully it won't take me all day to do. So it took me a couple hours to prep the area, as well as to acclimate myself with this paint gun, which I haven't actually used yet. But I'm ready to start. It's like 11 a.m. or something. So we'll see how long it actually takes to do. Hopefully it all works. I am so impressed. That must not have been like 10-15 minutes to go through the first tank. Got that whole arch done. Got all this done. So it's going probably 10 times faster, and it's probably using half as much paint as before. But I'm still glad that I did the first coat by hand, because it really gets it into all those little holes. And then the yellow on top of the white is just is going really well. So by 11:30, it is all done. And I used probably like 2/3 of a gallon, somewhere between 2/3 and 3/4, where I had to use 1 1/4 or 1 1/3 of white. So it's probably like 50% less paint or something like that. And 1/10 of the time. Pretty happy with the result. So between prep and then learning to use the machine and then cleanup, it basically took half the time altogether as doing the paintbrushes. Part of that was also because it was cleaning my first time. I got a little paint on the vehicle outside and in different areas. But now I know how to use it, and I can use it for lots of other projects. One tip, I would have watered it down even a little bit compared to its normal one, just because the cement surface, the more watered down, the thinner it is, the better to penetrate all those little holes. But overall, I'm really happy with it, and by probably after lunch, I'll take down all of this stuff, and then I'll get back to finishing up the end walls. Once I finish up the end walls, I will think about designing this counter, at least framing the base of the counter, and then I can also do the floors. Here's what the copper on yellow looks like. At first I was thinking like I might have to change the copper to a black or something, but after seeing it, I actually like it. The color contrast. The yellow takes a bit to get used to, perhaps on camera, but it really livens it up in here in what can otherwise be a kind of cold thing, like stone on the inside of an arch. It can be kind of like cold like that. So having the color really brings it out. This part I didn't feel like mortaring before I painted it, so it'll always just be a window into kind of being able to speak on how the structure exists. So you can like point to things, and it'll probably have to get sprayed with Rust-Oleum at some point. But well, I did spray it already, but it might be a regular thing. And then there's one little more thing over there. So those things will probably help with lights, or I don't know, you can hang things from them, like various things. So I got the foam on the left side done, still have to foam the right, and then I'll plywood up that end. And I finished foaming this side here. Well, almost finished foaming anyways. So that plywood can then go on that side. And then I still have plywood for that end, and I think first I'm going to frame in that final section there. So that's what I meant about making like an angle there. You can kind of see. Oh boy, that was the first time that window swung open like that. That was probably should have been latched. But I also had it open so I could bring a whole piece of plywood in here, which without the window I probably wouldn't have been able to do, which I cut for there. So anyways, yeah, so that section is basically all done with plywood, and I'll just have to add a little bit of spray foam around the edges of some of that plywood, which I then have to later cut out the extra bulgy stuff. So I've got these two end pieces, or this whole end side. I still got to frame the top and the left side here, and figure out how much of that I need to frame around and insulate around that. Anyways, going well. And I had to do some extra waterproofing on the outside there because I found a little bit of water, so I didn't finish up that side with plywood quite yet. But coming together. It is Sunday morning, and yesterday I got the side pieces on that part. I just got the top on this morning, and now I'm just insulating that, and then I'm going to frame in that piece, insulate it, and then put plywood on the two insides of that. And plywood that side, which the waterproofing I did was effective, so I can plywood that now. And after those three pieces are on, all of the interior and exterior plywood is good. Then I just got to foam that, and those are the first steps for today. So it's Monday morning, and yesterday I finished off all of the plywood ends except one little piece over there, which I got to get to, and then that wall is all insulated as well. And just did some like little shelving things with the scraps of plywood. This one is the most extensive one. It's kind of like a form fit desk shelf type thing, using the spare pieces of plywood while also keeping the space as available as possible. So there'll be a bed over there. It shouldn't impede with the bed or with this area. The big challenge ahead of me is to design a kitchen sink, or a sink and cooking thing somewhere, I think here, but I might have to redesign it and put it over here. I don't know, but that's a big challenge. I gotta put in a sink and a countertop, and so that'll be part of the goal for today, as well as finishing the last bits of plywood, foaming the last bits, and then prepping to start the flooring, after I frame out where the cabinet will be. So that's the goal for today. See how it goes. It's Monday afternoon, and I did some cleaning up in here and built a few more shelves, one over there and over there, and maybe one over there, and just cleaned up and started utilizing the shelves with all the stuff, which they work really well. And makes it kind of feel open and clear in here, where, see, I've put a bunch of them up there as kind of like art. You can't really see, but, so it's like integrating all of the pieces of the plywood so there's zero waste, and using all of the little scraps for shelving and all sorts of stuff without impeding on the movement space in here. The one thing I'm thinking about is replacing some of this plywood from the first three platforms, because at least right there, it's kind of like sagging, or it's just like been weathered. And that's where most of the standing is happening, is on these ones. So I might end up getting another piece of plywood or two just to replace those. Thinking about it anyways. But otherwise, I'm going to be designing the island in here relatively soon, which maybe part of that will entail cutting some of that out. I don't know exactly, but nice and open and clean in here, and getting a pretty good idea of what the space is all like. So Tuesday morning, I've decided to replace the plywood, the 3 sheets from the original flooring. Should make the floor last longer, reduce some of the creaks, and just be a better long-term solution. So I've got the replacement plywood out there. Now we just have to unscrew this one, cut it up, and take it out, or these 3. After I got the first sheet of plywood out, I realized that with just a little bit of trimming I could put it underneath. And then with the plywood underneath, And then closing it off, I decided that I'm going to add the insulation now from above, because it's easier to add it from above and then to foam all around it, make it nice and tight. So I'll do that before I put the next plywood on, and then I'll just go one piece at a time. And it's also good because taking this off, I'm finding that some of the older 2x have some structural things that it wasn't done quite right, so I can reinforce them, and then all of it will make for a better platform area once it's all done. Here's what it looks like when it's all foamed, and we'll see if the custom cut around that 4x4 will fit or not. Fingers crossed. It fit. The board is just super warped. Both ends are in, but that's how warped it is. So I just have to sit on the middle when I screw it in. But first board just about secured. Second piece is up. Time for some lunch. Then I'll put that piece, cut it, and then put it on underneath, and then insulate it all and do that whole process again. So the second replacement sheet is cut. Hopefully it'll fit, and then the second 4 bays are all insulated and ready to be covered. It's the end of the day, Tuesday, and I got these 2 pieces all done and screwed off, and then I got that piece cut and out and then re-screwed underneath. And I just have this last section to insulate and put plywood on, but I don't actually have enough insulation to use that insulation for all of it. So I'm going to have to improvise with some loose styrofoam block and kind of cut it and then fit it in and then foam it, and maybe add some other pieces of all the different insulation scrap I have, because I want to get this fully insulated before I close it up. But that's all for today. I'm just going to get that piece of plywood up in here, and then tomorrow I will finish up the plywood part of the floor before then getting into putting down that nice vinyl flooring. So that's it for today. Final one is all foamed. I put in all of the scraps of the spray foam that I cut off the kind of seams. So all of that waste material gets utilized for its insulative value and doesn't become a waste product. And I ran out of the insulation board, so I recycled this thick styrofoam. I had a big block of it and cut that for most of the second bay. And about to put this on. Hopefully it fits, and that'll be the last one. So the third one is in. The plywood replacement set me back about a half a day and another $150 or so. But the platform no longer squeaks and it's way more stable, both because this plywood is less weathered, but also because the other plywood is now screwed on underneath, which basically doubles the kind of capacity to spread the load, and the lack of squeakiness. It just is solid. There's no squeaks, so I'm really happy I did that, and I got all that insulation in there. So now I'm about to start with the vinyl flooring, and hopefully I do this right. And now I'm thinking maybe I need to paint before. Yeah, I probably need to paint before I do the flooring, so that edge. No, I'm just gonna do it. I'll probably add some sort of molding. I'm just not sure what I'll do. But I'm going for the flooring, not paint. So I'm starting with the flooring from that corner, and then using the underlayment, which gives a vapor barrier, as well as helping the pieces all kind of float and fit together. So pretty happy with it. And it gives a little, it really muffles the sound of the steps and gives a little bit of squish to your step as well. And so far so good. End of the day on Wednesday, and this is how far I've gotten with the flooring. I like the color contrast, kind of the yellow, the tan, and then the brown with like some later brown in it. It all kind of themes together. So yeah, I might get a little bit more done today, but that was basically the first day of flooring, how it went, and there's lots of custom cuts, and that's how it's looking. Pretty happy with it. I'm at a tricky part in the flooring currently. Having gone around the door there, reconnecting them is a little bit difficult because the tolerance is like a millimeter, if that. It's gotta be like perfect. And so there where it got, anyways, it's just tricky. And then the cuts are on the hinges and it's a ripped piece and all sorts of stuff. So once I get that piece in, everything else shouldn't be too difficult. Just a lot of angles and cutting around some stuff. But so far, really happy with this flooring. Just got to get that piece done. So it's Saturday morning, and here's how far I got with the flooring. So now focused on this area with all of these angles, and I'm hoping that I can get all of this vinyl flooring down today, and then we'll be closer to finishing up this loft area, which at one point I was thinking it was going to be the entirety of the living space, but now I'm thinking I'm going to do some in the area underneath of the loft as well, and that'll be more of like the kitchen dining and then like a bathroom down there, and then this will all just be kind of like a thermally insulated nest and hangout kind of area where most of the time is spent. So on to more flooring today for day 3 of the vinyl. Verona here has been living in the old chicken coop area, which is going to be a future walk-in closet after I totally renovate it and take that ceiling material out and re-insulate it and mortar the walls and dig it out, all sorts of stuff. I was going to do that kind of earlier on in my priority list, but now it's not a priority. But Verona is the oldest hen here, and she has basically one good eye, one dragon eye. There's a good eye on her left, and she's got one good foot and one injured foot. But her spirit's still hanging in there. She's the oldest hen and the last one from her generation that are still alive after Grace was killed last year. And so she's been in here by herself. But today I'm taking the chickies, the 10 chickies, and I'm putting them in here for their first time. And we'll see if they spend a good amount of time in here. How the chickies will do with Verona. If they might kind of adopt her as a mom or what, but she doesn't get any attention from anyone else, so maybe, and the other ones can pick on her oftentimes because she's disabled and older, and chickens are kind of brutal like that. But with all these chickies here, she might have a whole flock with her. We'll see what happens. This one is being extra brave, down on the ground and looking around. So far, not too much interest between the chicks and Verona, but we'll see over time what happens. So Friday afternoon, and down to the last box of the vinyl flooring. There's a couple corner pieces, one over there, one over there. There's a triangle over there, and then a piece in that corner. So there's a number of little small custom pieces I gotta do. And then I'm thinking I'm gonna use the rest of the vinyl, if there's enough, to cover that kind of angle wall. I'm thinking that'll get the flooring over it. And that'll probably be the end of the vinyl flooring. We'll see if I can do all that today. Look at this. Made my first major mistake in this whole floor. It's been going so good. I tuned into Tucker Carlson on Joe Rogan podcast. After all this floor, I'm just doing like the tiny little pieces, and this is what I do. Unbelievable. So that's gonna just mar my beautiful floor forever. As this PVC will last, like, who knows, like forever. So I'll end up getting some kind of like vinyl putty to put in there, but it's a scar, a battle scar, big fail. But I'm not about to undo everything to get back to that one piece, though I certainly could. Now that I say it, I'm thinking about it. Darn it. Okay, I'm definitely not redoing it. I totally could, but I would have to undo all of that, work my way backwards, undo the entire floor just to redo one piece. It is mostly on one piece, but I'm not going to redo it. I'm just going to putty it, as savage as that is. I couldn't live with the shame, so I undid all the flooring from the last day just to get back to these 2 pieces. And now I'll put them all back in again with those 2 replaced. Hopefully it won't take me that long because all the pieces are cut. But I haven't done any fasteners in this whole floor so far. It's all just like floating. but I'm about to get into the fasteners. So I was like, what, do I want to spend another hour and a half replacing these two, or do I want to look at that scar for the next like 20 years? Or however long, who knows? I don't want to project myself too far into the future. Project myself. So anyways, there's at least two pieces that I haven't used in the box, so I'm just going to replace these two and put it all back together now. So I got it all back together. Basically an hour and a half of penance for watching Joe Rogan and Tucker Carlson. And I learned my lesson. Alright, the flooring is finally complete. I guess that was like 4 days or something that it ended up taking me, but I'm really happy with the result. And next up, I think what I have to do, I've got to sand the furniture Sunday morning, and I just finished with basically blunting all the edges of all of the plywood areas and the desk. So using this multi-tool thing, like an electric chisel. So that's all done. And next step is to sand it all, which I'll do next. And then after that comes staining it. Hopefully we'll get to staining today. So it's the end of the day, Sunday, and I used up all the polyurethane I have to stain the shelves and the plywood walls, as much coverage as I could get from about 2/3 of a gallon. Got all the shelves, got all these side walls with just one coat of polyurethane. And I didn't end up sanding everything beforehand, but I did sand the shelves, and I think it'll all be better for it. And now I'm basically done with the walls, with the shelves. So I'm going to clean up everything out of here. At some point I do want to turn these roof rack things into shelves with those bolts on top, but I'm still looking for the wing nuts for them. But other than that, I'm basically going to clear this whole space out. Next step is to get electric in here, so there's some lighting in here. And I've just got to touch up some yellow spots on the roof. Probably do that tomorrow because it's pretty fumey in here right now. And then tomorrow, if I can, after I do the paint, I'll bring the couch in here, get everything else out. And the loft will basically be done, other than just a little weather stripping around that window. So that's how everything ended for today. So it's Monday morning, 8 a.m. Still smells a bit like polyurethane in here. And goal today, trim board. I forgot about trim board. I've got a bit of vinyl white trim. So I'm going to do molding along the bottom in all the areas if I can. And maybe around these two windows. I'm not quite sure though. Probably be good, but finish work is all kind of new to me. I'm more about the skeleton type stuff. But anyways, trim board for today. Electrical, get some lighting in here for today. Clean out all of this stuff. And then we'll see where we're at after all that. We've got lights. We've got baseboards. We got that worked into the kind of plywood seam there. And then the dimness is a brightness. There's a dimness adjuster or whatever. A dimmer for the brightness adjustment. And the LED strip goes either way. So I'm planning on putting a couch here. I have to move some stuff before being able to get the couch in here, which will also transition into next week's project. But this one is basically all done. This surface here, it's like kind of squishy. It's nice and soft. And then with the underlayment underneath there adds a little extra cush. And I want to do shelves on top of those at some point. And that's kind of the last thing I really want to do in here. But I need to get I can only find 2 of the wing nuts for those. So maybe if I can find some other nuts, I can finish those last 2 shelves. But otherwise, it's all done in here. I touched up the paint as well earlier along the edges and in some of the areas that were missed by the paint gun. But that's how it's all doing now. I think I'm going to look for nuts and do these shelves now. So it's Tuesday evening, end of part 2 of the loft build, and the loft is now complete. Got the couch up here that I wanted to get up here, nice and short couch that fits the space well, matches the floors. I did this roof vent thing, which I'll pick that foam off, but it's, you can kind of actually see light out there, but it's water sealed on the outside. At some point that might be ventilation type thing. And then got a floorboard by the window so people don't kind of like walk right into the window. And I think that was all the final upgrades for in here, other than this shelf. Figured out how to work the shelf, so eventually I'll do a shelf like that over there. But otherwise, loft is complete. End of this week's video, and I'll be working on this area under here next. I just barely got to start framing a wall on that side, and then this area under here will be kind of like the kitchen, maybe have some laundry, maybe have a bathroom, fireplace, we'll see, dining room. Lots of ideas for this this outer area, but loft is all done.